Good evening. It's Wednesday, the 17th of September, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Military exercise. India joins Russia and Belarus military drills amidst rising regional tensions. Conflict escalation. Israel intensifies Gaza offensive following UN genocide report, sparking international concern. Pet behavior. Dogs' loyalty tested in tense home invasion scenario, raising questions about animal instincts.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Amarsha Fernando.
Good evening once again. India has deployed 65 troops to participate in Russia and Belarus's joint military exercise, SEPAD 2025. This marks a significant development in India's defense diplomacy, highlighting its strategic ties with Moscow amidst ongoing tensions with the United States over trade policies and energy imports.
India's involvement in SEPAD 2025 underscores its long-standing defense relations with Russia. The deployment of 65 personnel, including a battalion from the esteemed Kumaon Regiment, aims to bolster bilateral military cooperation and enhance interoperability between the armed forces of the two nations. This move is particularly noteworthy given the backdrop of India's evolving defense partnerships with other global powers. The SEPAD 2025 exercises encompass a comprehensive range of military activities across land, sea, and air domains. Notably, the drills include rehearsals for the deployment of Russian tactical nuclear weapons and the use of the Oreshnik hypersonic missile, which was first test-fired during the Ukraine conflict. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko emphasized that these exercises are defensive in nature and not intended to provoke other nations. The United States has taken a significant step by sending military observers to the SEPAD 2025 drills, marking the first such participation since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. This gesture is part of a broader diplomatic effort by President Donald Trump to engage with Belarus, including easing sanctions and facilitating the release of political prisoners. However, analysts remain skeptical about Belarus's potential shift away from its alliance with Russia.
Farmers in Zambia have filed an $80 billion lawsuit against two Chinese-linked mining firms, alleging that the collapse of a tailings dam caused an ecological catastrophe. The spill contaminated waterways, destroyed crops, and affected over 300,000 households, prompting international concern and legal action.
In February, a tailings dam owned by Sino Metals reached Zambia and located within the operations of NFC Africa Mining collapsed, releasing millions of liters of acidic waste into local waterways. This disaster led to widespread fish deaths, contaminated drinking water, and the destruction of agricultural land, severely impacting the livelihoods of approximately 300,000 residents in Zambia's Copperbelt region. The affected farmers have initiated a lawsuit seeking $80 billion in damages, which includes provisions for environmental remediation and compensation. They allege that the collapse resulted from engineering failures, construction flaws, and operational mismanagement by the mining companies. In response, the Zambian government has taken measures to mitigate the impact, including deploying neutralizing agents into the contaminated waterways. However, the long-term ecological consequences remain uncertain, with experts warning of potential lasting damage to the region's environment. The lawsuit places the onus on Sino Metals Leach Zambia and NFC Africa Mining, subsidiaries of Chinese state-owned enterprises, to account for the environmental disaster. While Sino Metals Leach Zambia acknowledged the spill, it has not publicly commented on the lawsuit. The case is being heard in Zambia's High Court, with the farmers demanding that the companies place $80 billion in a government-managed account as security for environmental reparations and compensation. An emergency fund of $20 million is also being sought to provide immediate assistance to those affected.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Papua New Guinea Prime Minister James Marape met in Port Moresby to discuss defence cooperation. Plans to sign a mutual defence treaty were delayed due to a lack of quorum in Papua New Guinea's cabinet. Instead, the leaders signed a defence communique reaffirming their commitment to the treaty.
In a significant development, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Papua New Guinea Prime Minister James Marape convened in Port Moresby to advance defence relations. Initially, the leaders intended to formalise a mutual defence treaty which would signify a commitment to mutual defence in the event of an armed attack. However, due to insufficient quorum in Papua New Guinea's cabinet, the treaty's signing was postponed. Consequently, the leaders signed a defence communique underscoring their intention to proceed with the treaty following necessary internal approval processes. The proposed mutual defence treaty aims to strengthen the defence partnership between Australia and Papua New Guinea, enhancing military interoperability and cooperation. This agreement is viewed as a strategic move to bolster regional security and counterbalance the growing influence of other powers in the Pacific region. The delay in finalising the defence treaty marks a second setback for Australia in the Pacific this month. These developments highlight the complexities of securing defence agreements in the region, where domestic political considerations and sovereignty concerns play pivotal roles. Despite these challenges, both leaders expressed optimism about the future of their defence partnership and reiterated their commitment to formalising the treaty in due course.
Tyler Robinson, aged 22, has been formally charged in Utah with the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk during a public event at Utah Valley University on September 10th. He faces multiple charges including aggravated murder and obstruction for justice. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty.
The man accused of gunning down conservative activist Charlie Kirk in front of hundreds of people, appearing before a judge for the first time, now charged with 7 counts, including aggravated murder.
State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
The 22-year-old appearing to listen intently, nodding slightly, as prosecutors said they would be seeking the death penalty.
We did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty.
Earlier today, County Attorney Jeff Gray outlining the case against Robinson, including video and DNA evidence.
DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger.
He described Robinson's appearance in those widely circulated photos, the black cap, shades, t-shirt with an eagle and an American flag. Millions saw those images. One of them was the suspect's own mother.
Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed.
And prosecutors say that father got his son on the phone.
Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate.
Prosecutors say Robinson's parents convinced him to turn himself in, and his mother later describing a change in her son.
Over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views.
And prosecutors say that in the hours after the assassination, Robinson texted that roommate a note.
The roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing, look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it."
Prosecutors say that at first the roommate thought Robinson was joking, but Robinson insisting he wasn't.
"To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate: "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I'm sorry. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. And welcome back. Israel initiated a significant ground offensive in Gaza City yesterday, declaring Gaza is burning. The Israeli Defense Forces advanced deeper into the enclave, targeting Hamas forces as the death toll rose, with at least 40 Palestinians reported killed in the early hours.
Israel launched its long-threatened ground operation into Gaza City on Tuesday, declaring Gaza is burning. That's as a UN inquiry found Israel has committed genocide in Gaza, incited by top Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Israel categorically rejects the libelous rant.
Israel called the accusations scandalous. It has ordered hundreds of thousands of residents of Gaza City to flee. Many have spoken in recent days of having nowhere to go, of reaching overcrowded, unsafe camps and having to turn back. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, told Israel to stop its assault.
I can only think of what it means for women, for malnourished children, for people with disabilities if they are again attacked in this way. And I have to say, the only response to this is stop the carnage.
In recent weeks, the Israeli military has levelled buildings in the suburbs, including high-rise towers. But residents said on Tuesday bombardment of the city had ramped up dramatically, with heavier explosions destroying dozens of homes and naval boats joining tanks and planes in the bombardment. Abul Abed Zakut said his cousin was cut in half by a concrete block. They don't know how to retrieve her remains, he said.
What did the children do for us to find a head here and a leg there? A body that's been thrown 20 metres? We've been bringing them out since 3 in the morning.
We took out many, many martyrs and injuries. Rescuer Bashir Hajjaj says. It was difficult to reach the place because of the shelling. Israel says the aim is to dismantle Hamas as a political and armed organisation. An Israeli military official said ground troops were moving towards the centre of Gaza City, and that the number of soldiers would rise in the coming days to confront up to 3,000 Hamas combatants Israeli forces say are still there.
Today we witness in real time how the promise of never again is broken and tested in the eyes of the world.
The UN Commission of Inquiry's genocide report is the strongest UN finding to date. But the body is independent and doesn't officially speak for the United Nations. It cited as examples the scale of the killings, Israel's blocking of aid, forced displacement of Palestinians, and the destruction of a fertility clinic. Commission Chair Navi Pillay.
The ongoing genocide in Gaza is a moral outrage and a legal emergency. Member states must act now.
A Genocide Scholars Association and rights groups have reached the same conclusion.
The United States has officially decertified Colombia as an ally in the fight against drugs, a decision that could impact the U.S. military support to the Bogota. President Trump criticized Colombia for record-high cocoa cultivation and ineffective drug control efforts under President Gustavo Petro.
A punishment for poor results. That's how the US is framing its decision to decertify Colombia as an ally in the war on drugs, overturning almost 30 years of cooperation and jeopardizing hundreds of millions of dollars of US aid to the country. Since 2022, cocoa cultivation has increased by around 70% in Colombia, a jump that the Trump administration blames on the country's left-wing government.
Under President Petro's leadership, coca cultivation and cocaine production have reached record highs, undermining years of mutually beneficial cooperation between our two countries against narco-terrorists.
Colombia's President Gustavo Petro disagrees with US policy, saying the so-called war on drugs has failed. Since coming to power in 2022, Petro has supported efforts to shift the focus onto social problems that fuel drug trafficking, finding peaceful alternatives to cocoa cultivation rather than prosecuting traffickers. The left-wing leader blames US demand for the recent increase in production.
Everything we do really has nothing to do with the Colombian people. It's rather to stop American society from rubbing cocaine on their noses.
The US contributes around $380 million annually for anti-narcotics efforts in Colombia, assistance that could now be withdrawn following the falling out. The move comes as Colombian military and police have been left reeling following a string of deadly attacks from guerrilla groups.
US President Donald Trump arrived in Britain yesterday for an unprecedented second state visit. The UK rolled out to a grand ceremonial welcome at Windsor Castle, including a carriage procession, military flypast and a state banquet hosted by King Charles III.
Donald Trump touched down in London for an unprecedented second state visit, and arriving at the US ambassador's residence at Winfield House, he was full of enthusiasm for the trip.
We just had a great flight, and our fantastic ambassador, we appreciate the job he's doing. He's done really well, really well. The relationships were great, and he's been outstanding. So I want to thank him and for welcoming us.
Trump's two-day trip has been planned by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to ensure the so-called special relationship between Washington and London remains strong and to secure preferential trade deals for the UK. It's a gambit that Trump's US supporters in London say is bound to pay off.
He'll love it. He's a big fan of the Royals. He's a big fan of this country. He's very fond of the UK. So if there's any place in the world that he would want to do a state visit, it's here in the United Kingdom.
But in Windsor, which the Trumps will visit on Wednesday as guests of the British Royals, protesters turned out to say the US president was not welcome.
I think it's good to just express our dissent, show Trump and show the government that Trump doesn't represent Britain, doesn't represent our values.
Basically, I think Keir Starmer's been taken in a little bit by him so that he thinks he can get a deal with Donald Trump. But I don't think Donald Trump is trustworthy.
One of the shadows hanging over the trip is the US president's relationship with the late convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The affair has dogged Trump back home as he has resisted calls to release Justice Department files related to it. Protesters projected images of Trump and Epstein on the walls of Windsor Castle, where Trump will be guest of honour at a state banquet.
President Donald Trump has filed a $15 billion defamation and libel lawsuit against the New York Times and publisher Penguin Random House. The suit lodged in Florida federal court targets a 2024 book and 3 articles alleging Trump misused his inheritance, claiming they damaged his reputation and business interests.
Donald Trump said Monday that he plans to file a $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. It comes a week after he threatened to sue the paper over its reporting of a suggestive note and drawing he allegedly gave to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. The White House has strongly rejected that story as fake. In a social media post, Trump said, "Today I have the great honour of bringing a $15 billion defamation and libel lawsuit against the New York Times." The president has accused the newspaper of lying about him, his family and businesses. He says it also spread falsehoods about Republican-led movements and ideologies, including his own Make America Great Again. Trump said the suit would be filed in Florida, but offered no further details. The New York Times did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the case.
Time for a short commercial break now. We'll be right back with more world news. And welcome back. A new social experiment tested whether dogs would protect their owners over food during a simulated home invasion. Professional guard dog experts in New York observed 3 dogs given full bowls of food, while an intruder entered, measuring instinct, loyalty and protective behavior under controlled conditions.
What a dilemma! Continue chowing away or come to the rescue? It's a big trend on social media. Dog owners are setting up their own tests. Will all these hounds keep chowing down when a masked man pretends to bust in? Based on these videos, it's not looking good for our furry buddies. They all totally ignore the bad guys and continue munching away.
This is Yuri. She is a 3-year-old German Shepherd. She does not like people.
Yuri may dislike people, but she sure likes to eat.
She loves her food and she cares more about her food than anybody else.
We shall see. Watch what happens when our expert suddenly bursts into the house, pretending to be a home invader. Yuri gets spooked and abandons her dish, but just for a second. Then she goes right back to finish her meal. Hey, a dog's gotta eat. Finally, Yuri's protective instincts kick in, and she scares the intruder away with some ferocious barks.
Hey! Whoa! Look at that! This looks like a very conflicted dog. She's worried about you, but worried about her food.
She did a great job.
Next up, this little guy named Mr. Biz, a 7-year-old Maltese Shih Tzu. Will he act tougher than he looks?
Well, let's see if Mr. Biz brings the business.
Despite that delicious kibble, Mr. Biz comes to the rescue.
Oh no! He's actually very, very confident for a little dog and is definitely bringing the business.
I loved how he charged me. He was straight with the business, put me all the way up into the corner and was like, back off my mom.
Now meet Zeus, a 6-year-old Great Pyrenees mix.
Zeus loves people, and people love Zeus.
You'd expect a dog this size to be ferocious in defense of his human mom, even during dinner time. But Rebecca has her doubts. And she's correct. He doesn't attack. But look, he does leave his bowl and tries to intervene when Rebecca gets dragged out of the house.
This is not an overly aggressive dog. Your dog left his food to go intervene. Everything about his body language is saying that he loves you.
Good boy, Zeus. Now back to that bowl of food.
With just 100 days until Christmas, holiday shopping is already heating up, highlighting high-demand gifts like Legos, Hot Wheels, and the Nintendo Switch 2. Retailers such as Target and Best Buy are offering early sales in late September and early October.
Hard to believe, but the countdown to Christmas has begun.
This year, with the tariff situation, we're really expecting toys to sell out earlier than ever before, so it's really good to get a jump on your holiday shopping.
What's super popular? You can't go wrong with Legos and Star Wars characters.
This is just under 1,000 pieces. Pretty much all of the hottest toys of the year you can find for under $50.
Target says some of the best prices will come October 5th through the 11th. 50% deals start November 1st. Best Buy's 48-hour flash sale kicks off September 27th with deals ranging from laptops to cookware and small appliances. So ready or not, here's the Queen of Christmas herself.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Mamasha Fernando, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of the London exhibition unveiling Marie Antoinette's iconic style. And also don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Prashansa Gunawardana will be joining you next with the Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching and have a great night.